Hello everyone and welcome back to Introducing the Wolves. My name's Ben Royle and today I'm joined by Ball Hockey UK President Rob Clayton, Club Captain Mick Donoghue, long-time Wolf Stu Wilson and Club Founder Mancel Wood. This is part one of a two-part interview, so make sure to stay tuned for next week's episode as well. Gentlemen, how are we?
Good, Ben.
Good, Ben.
This is the second attempt of trying to record this interview, isn't it, Mance?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry lads. Technology's not good at my age.
So just
we were worried about you, Mance. There was definite concern.
So this week, like usual, we've got some icebreaker questions. Different style this time, so each just go around, answer the question basically. So to start off with, if you could meet any historical hockey figure, either living or deceased, who would you choose and why? Start with you, Stu.
Starting with me.
Yeah.
Was this a question that was pre-presented?
It's not.
Oh.
These are just the icebreakers, so straight off the top of your head.
Taking the Fifth Amendment.
Crikey. I've got absolutely,
Was he the Czech guy?
absolutely no
You
idea.
mean Crikey?
Fair enough.
Living or deceased.
Yeah.
I'd like to catch up and have a beer with not Mark Buds, with Brent Supergia, if you remember that guy.
Oh.
If he's still out of prison.
Yeah.
Absolute loon and a cracking player when he played for Solihull.
Yeah.
I think he's
And we got blamed at Wembley for doing the change room over when it was in.
When you say we, Mick, you don't mean like your family. You mean
No, as in the Carlton Scorpions.
hey?
Yes, we did, yeah.
On our Wembley trip, he allegedly left a present in the changing rooms.
Durham was.
Yeah.
Durham was.
And
And we arrived at Wembley on the Sunday morning, and people were telling us we were getting blamed for it.
There you go. I tell you what, I may have stumbled in answering that question, but I've provided a great little segue into Bugate here, haven't I?
To Fugate. Just for your information, Ben, that was the present he left.
In a glove, apparently, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Many gloves and skates, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was quite
What year was that?
prolific.
What year?
What year? Oh, crikey. Probably early 90s.
Yeah.
92, 91, something like that.
I think it was the year Durham beat Peterborough in the final, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
So a couple of years after Panthers won it then, because Durdle was at Peterborough, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Mance, same question to you.
I don't know, probably Hextall.
Yeah.
I just think he's a real entertaining guy and an absolute maniac. I just think he has so much to say.
No, I think that's a great answer. Rob,
Yeah,
you've probably got something really obscure and
No, I think mine would be quite boring by comparison. I think I'd say Bobby Orr, to be honest.
okay, yeah.
You know, I think he probably even from our generation, you know, we didn't get to see him. So it'd probably be a mystery to anybody younger than us tuning in. Although, you know, by the time we got to the end of the Brent Supergia story, they've already probably tuned off. But but yeah, he changed the game, didn't he? He changed the game of ice hockey. And I think because Gretzky came after that, everybody talks about him in that way, don't they? So yeah, I think I'll go for Bobby Orr.
Mick.
Yeah. I guess my favourite player was always Paul Coffey. So you'd probably say Paul Coffey and understand a bit, that whole Edmonton era and how good a player he was. But I imagine for understanding a bit more of that Russian lineup as well, like something like Fetisov or somebody like that might be interesting as well to understand kind of what those guys went through and so that one of those two, I guess.
Great shout.
Yeah. So same order. If you could pick up a certain skill, and this isn't just hockey related, any skill in the world instantly, what would it be?
Any skill in the world?
Yeah.
Quick thinking, probably.
Beautiful. Mance?
I'd like to be able to paint.
Probably use Zoom, mate. That would be really.
Great answer.
That is a great answer.
Rob?
I would like to be able to speak Italian. And
Very cool.
like I've just made, I would like to be able to speak languages in general. You know, somebody who comes from Arnold, we struggle with English a
I
little
would
bit.
say English would be a good
Yeah,
start.
it's not even our first language, really. So, yeah, Italian in particular, but languages in general. Italian.
Bananarama.
Yeah, much, yeah, or be a member of Bananarama. Yeah.
Mick?
Well, clearly, my skills with the ladies have been in question over many years. So I think there's that. And probably learn how to slap shot.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know where to start there, Mick. They're both a tall order. Have you got something a bit easier?
They are both that. Bear in mind, I've tried both and been failed miserably at both.
Yeah.
And then Mick, we'll start with you this time. We go in reverse order. If you had a talk show, who would your first 3 guests be?
You mean other than these 3?
Of course.
Oh, God. I'm going to defer to the Stu. I need to think about that one. Hockey related or any related?
Anyone.
Oh.
You can go for 3 hockey players if you like.
I might have to go the 5th there. I need to think about that one, Ben. Sorry, mate.
That's fine.
Too
Rob,
much for me, that one.
quick thinking, Rob.
I would go for Diego Maradona. Not that I particularly like him, but having seen that documentary recently,
Yeah.
I just thought that was fascinating. I think he'd be interesting. Sounds a bit cliche, doesn't it? I think I'd go Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
And finally, what would I go for? Probably an actor or something like that. I'm struggling for a third one now. Something like, right, going back to Robert De Niro, maybe talking Italian.
Teach you Italian.
Yeah.
Kill 2 birds with 1 stone there, mate.
Yeah.
We'll go with De Niro in the absence of a better answer.
Yeah. Mance?
I'd probably go both the Gallagher brothers and Damon Albarn and see what
Stick them in a room. I like it.
Yeah.
It's a good shout.
Stu, how about you?
Can we have deceased on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, pretty
are
simple.
you just doing that so you get all the dinner?
Good point. I get seconds. So get probably on a similar line to Mancel, getting 3 people in a room and see what happens. I'd probably go for Tony Blair, George W. Bush, and Osama bin Laden. Let's get that. But then is the latter dead? Who knows?
We're going to get loads of views now off random conspiracy theory
Oh God, yeah.
fanatics.
Anything that gets content to the page, Ben.
Who's this guy that knows bin Laden?
Mick, have you had a bond?
Well, yeah, I quite like that Stu's bin Laden idea, but like a Lee Harvey Oswald type JFK conspiracy thing would be interesting. But yeah, because I'm a bit of a film geek, probably maybe a George Lucas or Spielberg or something like that, Christopher Nolan. And yeah, I like Maradona. Maradona's a good shout, but I think I'd just have to kick him or chop his hand off.
Well, you'd be one up on Peter Shilton, wouldn't you, if you managed to make contact?
Well, Peter Shilton, I just want to go, why can't you jump? Yeah, mate, yeah. But yeah, so that's as far as I got. Sorry, Ben. I'll come back to you.
That's fine. No worries. And the final question for the icebreaker. We'll start with you this time, Mance. If you could choose one of your teammates, past or present, as a desert island companion, who would you choose?
Oh, that's a good one.
First name that comes to mind, we'll go this time.
I don't know, probably somebody like Bob Malpass, because like it just entertain you forever.
Rob, how about you?
Well, you know what? I mean, not just because he's on the call. I think I'd have to go with Stu, because back in the day, me and Stu used to share a house, and we'd be fine. We wouldn't get much done, but you know, we'd never build a life raft, but we'd get really good at dominoes. So, you know, yeah, I'd have to go with Stu, because yeah, we're just on the same wavelength. But as I say, we'll be very productive. we'd never get off the island.
I mean, you could have chosen your son, but we'll go with Stu.
No, I'll go with Stu.
Yeah. On reflection, I'll still go with Stu.
You see, Rob wouldn't want Ben to do any sort of dangerous shit like climbing up trees for coconuts and stuff, but he won't.
Yeah, and he's got zero skills that would help us survive. I mean, I say we get nothing done, but you know, I think I'd have more.
Do a bit of silence.
I like the fact, Stu, that you think you're going to be climbing up a tree for a coconut.
Make it fantasy.
Stu, how about you?
Well, pretty similar to Rob, but I'm not gonna turn this into a bit of a loving and go Rob. But I don't know how many you remember him, but quite a few will. I'd go Martin Etheridge, who was one of the other guys that me and Rob played a lot of hockey with, and was also one of the guys that we shared a house with for a while. Because you'd be sorted for cleaning and cooking, and you know it basically a proper little housewife around the island, and everything had been everything had been listed. Your Mexicorn, your greetings cards, your bananas loose, everything had been a nice list.
Did you just suggest the mole man's?
Yes, mate. Yeah, I think he'd be ideal for Stu.
It'd certainly inspire you to get off the island, wouldn't it?
He's probably on the island now, isn't he?
Do you want to explain who the mole is to people who wouldn't
I don't
understand?
think we've got time, Ben. I don't think. He's a goalie who used to play in the early days of the Wolves.
In his game jeans.
He used to play in goal, but in jeans. During the Wolves hiatus, he spent several years in a training camp in Kazakhstan and came back a better goalie.
Yeah.
That may or may not be true.
He used to roll pastry out on the lenses of his glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to call him the Claw, but not really because he had a great catching hand, just because his hand was black after he played.
We also used to call him the Mystic Mole because he was very good at predicting Panthers score lines.
That was Wembley.
It was at Wembley.
That was Wembley's semi-final against Wasps, the last Wembley. We were stood having a beer end of the second, and he just sidled up to us and stuck his head in between the group and said, "Panthers 3-2" or whatever, didn't he? And it happened.
Yeah, Mystic Mole.
Mystic Mole.
Big shout out to the Mole if he's
Yeah. If he's tuning in.
with Desert Island.
Or with Mole, it'd be a desert island.
So getting on to the proper questions now. Mick, obviously we've covered your footballing history.
I didn't even get on the desert island with a mate.
Oh, of course you didn't.
Ben thinks I'm that sad I can't take anybody with me.
Well, we've cancelled
You
out.
just didn't want to embarrass you, Mick, that you've got no mates, that's all.
That's very true, Mick. Who would you go with? Not me, obviously.
Well, yeah, I mean, you were right in there, but I mean, I think Bob's a good shout from Mance, but Bob and Daz are still very good friends who we played with at Carlton, Daz Waterhouse. But I suppose Coley, Rich, obviously we grew up together as well, so and still a best mate now. So I think he would probably have to be the one. I guess he'll be pleased to know because he would also have to do all the work and all the cooking.
Very good. So as I was saying before, I forgot about you, Mick. We covered your footballing career in the first episode of Introducing the Wolves. So sort of spanning out to the other three, what were your sporting backgrounds before you got into playing hockey? Rob, we'll start with you.
I mean, I've always loved sport. I love most sports now, and I watch most sports, and I loved playing sport when I was a kid, but I never really found one that I was much good at. I loved football, but I wasn't much good at it. And it wasn't really until the Portland League was starting up. It was there was already a league in Nottingham called the Rushcliffe League, and a new league started up, and they held a kind of an open day for new people to go and try it out. So really, I tried a lot of sports before I found hockey when I was about 15.
Yeah. And then Mance, being the founding member of the club, what was your sporting history as well?
Well, I played a lot of football growing up, and a Wolves connection was I used to play in the same school football team as Luke Brown's dad.
Oh.
which was a bit weird. I didn't know until like a couple of years ago. But Luke's dad was a really good football player. But apart from that, I really got into American football from when I was about 14 or 15. I played for Hena, Derby, Mansfield, American football. And I was playing American football when I sort of met Darren Waterhouse, and that's when I started watching the Panthers.
Very interesting. Stu, how about you?
Aside from a bit of football and stuff at school, anything sort of outside was probably first off, like Mance, was American football. It was pretty big in the 80s, wasn't it, Mance, really? When it started coming over. I did play at the senior level like Mance did, but I played 3 or 4 seasons of junior in Nottingham for a couple of junior teams. And then when Rob got the ball hockey, or gym hockey as we called it then, when we were still at school, playing that. And then I was part of the Nottingham North Stars, the first rec ice hockey team to set up in Nottingham back in 1989. And that's when I stopped playing American football. And then from there, it was just ice and ball, gym, depending on, what was happening in the respective sports at that time. So, just the American football and then the two types of hockey, really. That and a bit of international kabaddi, and that's about it.
So, Mance, if you could just quickly explain how the club came into being and sort of the story behind that.
Yeah, ball hockey or gym hockey,
Who's got the full up? He's had to go.
He's gone. He's going to come back in his kabaddi kit.
Ball hockey had sort of died a little bit of a death, and there was only the Scorpions really playing regularly. And we got a squad of about 30 people. So we basically, I was talking to Gary Roebuck, Danny Roebuck's dad, and just to sort of develop a little bit of competition and try and get a little bit of interest in it again, and give the lads that didn't normally get games a little bit of game time, we decided to start the Wolves. And within a few weeks, sort of, I randomly came across Rob at a training session at Radford, and invited Rob along, and sort of then Rob brought a few of the old Bruins lads, and that sort of made the basis for the Wolves team that sort of went from strength to strength. And
yeah.
Very good. So with, obviously, Stu, you mentioned it used to be called gym hockey. How was the game run and structured back then? Sort of what changes have you seen as well? If you want to move on to that. Start with you, Mance, if that's okay.
I think the game has changed a lot. From the old Northside League that Stu and Rob played in, that really was the cliche of ice hockey without the ice. I think Portland, the rules were a little bit more structured, and it probably resembled a little bit closely what we play today. But with the introduction of the internet and teams playing and contacting each other from all over, I think it's amazing, and the game's totally unrecognisable from what we used to play. Plus we used to play with a orange plastic puck, which could go anywhere, but the ball has made the game so much more skillful, so much more fast. And now you see kids coming through that have played from young kid age groups. And it is just a natural game to them, whereas most of the players, when we've started playing, were all 19 or 20, and we'd never played the game before. So I think, to answer your question, mate, I think the game's far more natural now. I think it is far more a standalone game rather than just ice hockey fans that come down to play it.
That's
True,
brilliant.
man. So I think you're right. I mean, it kind of formed out of being an ice hockey fan, didn't it? You know, rec ice hockey didn't start up until the North Stars began a few years afterwards. So if you're a bit older and you didn't play junior ice and you wanted to go at it, it was really the only option, wasn't it? I think, you know, and there were a couple of leagues in Nottingham, and basically you just played league games really, because you know, you had a league game most weeks, so no teams trained, and the squad numbers were quite small, weren't they? So you didn't really have enough players to. If you had a dozen players, that's probably about all you had. So training wouldn't have been particularly viable anyway. But we were playing games all the time, so it didn't really matter. And we played all the games out of the Portland League. Obviously, played at Portland Leisure Centre, and Northside played out of a place called William Olds up in Bestwood, which was pretty raw. I'm not sure many people would want to play out of that these days, but it was all we knew. We just loved it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I first started in that league, though, it weirdly, I was thinking about this when we were talking about the interview, and it felt strangely well organised. I know when you look back on it, we all look back and go, well, there's a few things we would question now, but you used to turn up, was it Tuesdays and Fridays, Mance?
Wednesdays.
Yeah, and so there was 2 games, and there was like a newsletter thing with the scores and the league table and the league scorers, and you were in the Evening Post every week, and it felt quite and it felt well organised. It felt quite smooth, and everybody knew what was happening and the teams you were playing, and everybody knew about every team as well. So there was all that, it just felt like a very cohesive league to me as a kid, when I started, it felt like that. So.
I think one of the only problems was because squad numbers were quite low, sometimes teams had struggled numbers wise, I think. And, teams came and went a fair bit. So, I mean, we moved across from the Northside League to the Portland League. What year do you reckon that was, Stu? 89, 90, something like that?
It was... Have we been cut off?
No, we're still there.
Oh, hang on, it's all right. Just pulled up on there. There we go. Yeah, probably was. I think for me, what somebody mentioned earlier, I've lost my big screen. I don't know why.
Yeah, I've lost mine, Stu.
Yeah.
I'm still on.
I'm still on.
I've got my little screens, but I've lost my big screen. Never mind. I think it's the. It's the thing that's saved us all and will kill us all, but the internet,
Yeah.
Back in the day, Mick's saying about how well structured Portland was, and it was. I mean, even to a certain extent, William Olds was. We had newsletters,
yeah,
there was leagues,
game a week.
There was a lot of people that were putting time into getting the fixtures sorted out and this, that, and the other. But other than you telling your mates down the Panthers and telling your mates at school or at work and this, that, and the other. There was no way of sharing it, and a bit of a piece in the post.
Yeah.
And because you've got these leagues, and we don't know what potentially there were other things happening around the country as well that rose and died, and nobody even remembers them. But now, just the communication, the ability to reach across the country and internationally with how ball hockey is at the minute. I mean, it's just millions of miles away. And it's that communication, and it's the ability to have, a nice website and tell people about yourselves, and, when there's events on and things like that, games, and, people like to, see their stats up there and their performance and everything like that. And, that's for me what has really facilitated the massive growth, certainly over the last sort of 10 to 15 years.
I think sorry, Mick, in a way back then, there's almost a feeling of like, is this a proper game? Have we just invented this? Yeah. Is this really a game? As much as we enjoyed it, it was kind of like not even sure it's a real game, to be quite honest.
No, well, and there was the sort of 10, 12 teams that played in that league until it finished. I can't remember, but it felt like about 10 teams, but that was it. Until it was only really when I think when you guys started, like Manchester Carlton sort of split up and what have you, and then we started going away and playing other fans and other teams, and then we started Sheffield and Manchester, and we played up in Fife and what have you. That was the first time we'd ever really gone outside of our own little Nottingham bubble, really. So,
but it was hard to do that. I mean, at the time it wasn't, because that's all that was there. But it wasn't easy to sort games out against, you know, teams, you know, 100 odd miles away. You know, it wasn't easy at all.
I think
pretty straightforward.
It was like we somehow organised that game against Fife, didn't we, Mick, home and away?
Yeah, home and away, yeah.
Did you tie that in with Panthers fixtures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, that was, you know, it was kind of, you know, what's the phrase? I don't know. It was linked to that, and had Panthers not existed, then those games probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask next, actually. I was just going to talk about the Panthers connection, sort of. So, Rob and Mick, did you meet through playing, or did you meet at Panthers?
So, the first, I think we probably played. Did we play hockey against each other first, and then we worked for the. We both worked for the government. We both worked for the department.
Have I just logged out here or something?
No, you're still
there.
there.
Still there, Steve.
Bloody hell.
Rob was just starting an interesting story then.
Sorry, mate. I'm making right pigs here of this. Go on. I'll just
Still see you. Don't worry. So,
Nothing anymore.
Oh, sorry. I'm back. Don't worry.
Me and Mick probably played against each other, but then we ended up working. We both worked for the Department of Trade and Industry, different bits, but we're in the same. We worked in the same building at Sevens House in town. So that's how we knew each other. We never really knew each other very well until Mick ended up coming to play for the Wolves. So that's how we met. In terms of how I knew the other ones, obviously in the same way I knew Mance because he played for the Scorpions. And then when ball hockey had gone through, gym hockey had gone through a bit of a down period, and then there's a few teams starting to pop up again. And I was desperate to start playing again. I'd not played for about a year and a half, something like that. And I went to a training session in Radford. The Radford Raiders were just setting up, and Mance was there because everybody always needs a goalie. Mance was in there training. I think they trained on a Sunday night. And on the way out, we were talking in the car park, and Sunday nights didn't really suit me for some reason. You know, I don't know, songs of praises on, innit? So, you know, I don't want to miss out on that or something.
And
Antiques Roadshow or Bally's or something like that. And Mance just said, we're starting a team at Carlton Forum, the Arnold Wolves. And that was on a Wednesday.
Yeah, it was a Wednesday.
He was like, do you want to come down? And that's kind of, the rest was history from that point on. The Wolves had been going for a couple of months at that point. But I went along and knew that was the right decision for me. And me and Stu went to school together.
Well, you usually started the Red Hill legacy.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I was a sixth former at Red Hill School, I'd been along
times, Rob, didn't we? In Red Hill Leisure Centre.
Yeah, Red Hill Leisure Centre. They used to let us use it at lunchtimes and after school. I'd gone along to like a taster session at Portland, but I was only 15 at the time when I went to that, and it was the other side of town, and the league was on a Friday night. I had no way of getting there, so I decided I was going to start a team. I didn't really know what we were going to do with the team, and then Stu, who was a bit younger than me, showed up. He'd been playing, sort of knocking around. He used to play roller hockey.
Bit of roller hockey, just
around. Big qualification was he had his own stick. That was big. Stu came along, and I just thought, not entirely sure about who's this. He's a bit, he's a bit flash, a bit boisterous, and I've known that Stu ever since.
That's another thing as well, Rob. I mean, not as big as a communication, but the ability now for people to get hold of decent kit as well. Seriously. Yeah. You know, when you think back, and like shirts, I know we're sporting, we've got the old Arnold Aztecs Henry Dew sponsored shirt, but like back in the day, you'd need half a dozen blue T-shirts.
Yeah.
That was it.
I mean, when I
even have a proper strip, and, nowadays, especially now, since the dawn of, your Jersey 53s and stuff, it's really easy to get a really decent kit that's not too expensive. And it gives the team that bit of cohesion, and people like to wear it and they feel part of the team, and they've invested a bit by getting the kit and everything. Yeah. Whereas, opposed to, come and play on Saturday, we've got a game. Just bring a red T-shirt.
First year of the Red Hill Rangers, we wore white T-shirts. That's what we wore.
Yeah,
white. Just wear white. That was it. Nobody else wears white.
Yeah, you get buy-in from.
We wore white
from people in the team if they feel.
Well, I started with Toten, and we wore those hospital gown.
Smocks, didn't you?
The
That's
smock.
what I was just going to ask you, mate.
Yeah, they were Mick Chambers, because he used to work at the hospital. He just bought those short sleeve green smock things, and we played in them.
Well, funny enough,
that makes you feel proud, doesn't it?
With COVID, when it starts up again, you'll be wearing them again. With
Yeah, there is that.
And Neil Bissett sewed his own number on, didn't he, Mick?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Neil Bissett did a lot of self. When he played in goal that time, he took his settee covers out and stuck that under his shirt. He did all sorts of stuff. Neil Bissett did.
It's not like we're making it up, but it's all true stuff in it. I mean, the kits was just one thing, but if you think about the gear, so when we first started playing, nobody wore helmets. I mean, that was true until about 2010.
There was one player in Portland, wasn't he, man? Was it Joe Rainbow?
James Porter.
James Porter, that's right.
John Wilson.
So nobody wore helmets. When I first started out, nobody wore gloves. You wore footy shin pads, maybe a pair of volleyball knee pads if you were lucky.
Cricket gloves.
Goalies pretty much just made stuff, really. Goalie was hard to
I
get
played
on.
a couple of years at William Bolts in goal, and I used various bits of kit. I had a piece of body armour made out of carpet underlay, and I also had one that was a typewriter mat at one point, and pairs of football shin pads that had bits trimmed off, so you could actually bend your arms, wrap around your arms like that. And Johnny Pustai firing pucks in at 100 mile an hour. You just go home black and blue.
Mancel, did you used to wear cricket pads and a baseball glove?
Yeah. The first season we played at Portland, you weren't allowed to wear a helmet in goal unless it was a penalty.
Unless it was a what?
And the thing was as well, you didn't stand up either, did you? So you were kneeling down. You were pretty much...
you weren't allowed to stand up in the rules. So you were kneeling down and no helmet, and like, how did I not die?
Yeah, I remember that. It was mad.
We didn't care though, did we? We didn't care.
No. I was just thinking of another one. You know, when you were talking about communication, Stu, I remember when I signed for Colton. And I think when we were making the negotiations, I think I forgot to tell them that clearly I wasn't old enough to drive, even though they knew that. But I think the first week, like, my dad couldn't give me a lift, so I was begging for a lift off one of them, and they're like, "Oh, I think I've got to come all the way to Beeston to pick you up." And we arranged a meeting place, but for some reason they got the wrong. It was like where the Barton's garage was in Beeston, but I can't think who it was, man. It's probably Bob, but it was the wrong side of Barton's garage, so. Like, he's driving around, but of course no mobile phones, so nobody could call. So I think we just drove around for about half an hour before anybody actually finally found me, and I got to the game because nobody could ring to find out where you were.
I don't know how any of it used to happen, to be quite honest. We think about it.
Yeah, crazy.
But then listed off 5 or 6 teams that I'd never even heard of.
Oh, Mick used to move around a bit. It was in hot demand.
Nah, I don't know.
Do you want us to tell you about the teams?
Yeah. So obviously, Rob, that jersey you've got on is for Bestwood Bruins.
Yeah, it's not the original one. We had some remakes done. So I started out. I started a team at Red Hill School. There's probably a podcast in that, Ben. Actually,
Good one.
Red Hill School. People who from Red Hill School who have ended up playing this. There are a lot. Yeah. So I started one there. We were called the Red Hill Rangers. We wore white t-shirts. That was it. And then
we did wear bottoms as well. It wasn't like
we weren't
shorts on as well. It wasn't like that.
No. And that team became the Arnold Aztecs. That's the jersey that Stu's wearing there. Sponsored by Henry Dew.
This is not the original, but I do have the original, which I had on last week. But man, you blew that.
Yeah, sorry, man.
They were just footy jerseys, long sleeve football jerseys, weren't they?
Yeah, terribly tight.
And then I got to know a couple of the lads who played for the Bestwood Bruins. They set up as a new team after the first year of the Rangers, and we played in Bestwood. They were local lads. They just like turned up, wondered what was going on, and thought, right, we'll form a team. And they were called the Bestwood Bruins. So I played for them probably for the longest amount of time, aside from playing for the Wolves. So after the Bruins, I didn't play for a bit, and then I played for the Wolves. So yeah, Rangers, Aztecs, Bruins, and then Wolves.
See, you say I moved around. I think you played for more official. I know it's yeah, I know. Yeah, but
Mick, you said you started out with Toten.
I started with the Toten Rangers, which again, Neil Bissett played for him, and he worked with my dad. Knew we were Panthers fans, but he was sort of, I guess, the captain. His brother-in-law played for them as well, but then it was the core of it was the Green brothers. So there was Gary, Andy, and Nigel, who were all very different players. Andy was quite an odd man, but Nigel was their skilled player, I guess. And we were there, and I've got a feeling, I don't know, Mance, did Simon join there, or did Simon join us at Beeston? I can't remember that, but
I
think he played for Toten, and then a bit like the guys saying, the league was trying to expand. We had a number of lads who wanted to play, who were quite new to the game. And Neil and his brother-in-law sort of wanted to set up Beeston, and Beeston obviously is where I'm from. So I then went with them and Simon, I think, to Beeston, but only for a short while, because by this stage I'd met Mancel and Daz and Bob, and basically I was getting to the games. I think we were having a couple of beers before the games, weren't we, Mance? And we used to meet up and I was seeing these guys at the hockey and stuff, and basically, so I was hanging around a bit more with you guys then, wasn't I? So, and then I think there was an issue with Mike Stone with you guys, and I ended up being traded with Mike Stone in Beeston to these guys.
It was the first ever transfer, wasn't it?
Yeah, first ever trade.
That was the Beeston Bullets, Mick, wasn't it?
Beeston Bullets, that's right. Yeah, we had really bad old Edmonton shirt initially.
Alliteration was rife in the early days.
It really was.
Red Hill Rangers, Arnold Aztecs, Beeston Bullets,
yeah,
Aspley Aces,
yeah, Willowbrook
Warriors.
Yeah,
it was almost mandatory.
Yeah,
I'm not sure on the name Toten Rangers though.
What?
Well, get ready. Mance is going to tell you about Spear of Destiny soon as well.
Oh yeah, they were legendary, weren't they?
Yeah, West Bridgeford Spear they were, but they were named after Spear of Destiny, the band. Look them up. And
I've got something here, guys. I've just totally by chance. This week I've boarded out the loft. Yeah, and I've sorted out a load of old stuff, and I've got huge amounts of old Panthers stuff. And I found a load of old programs from Jim Hockey back in the days.
Oh, really?
I found this thing that I've got these 4 sheets of these newsletters called Rebel. I don't know whether Mick, Mancel, you might remember them. They were like a very early sort of Panthers fanzine thing. I think it was Mick Chambers that was behind it.
Mick Chambers did a lot of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and it's talking about, I guess these have got to be. There's no date on them. I mean, that's a bit poor. But it says 90. This will be the last Rebel for 85/6. So we're talking mid-80s, and they're talking about this Rebel Unihoc tournament, and the team names there: Bruins, Bombers, Spear, Rebel.
Might have been Long Eaton Bombers, I think.
East Leak.
Yeah, it was East League. Yeah.
Skipjacks.
So I think this is the old Rick Slip League, isn't it?
And Falcons.
Yeah.
That's definitely before my time.
We'll remember John Lomas is named in one of these things.
Yeah.
But this is, it's got to be mid-80s. There's a few of these.
Alliteration was big, and also NHL team names was quite big as well. There's a few teams who didn't have it, but Bruins, Rangers, Gedlin Flyers, it was all quite NHL linked.
Talking of names, Mance, were you behind the Wolves being called the Wolves? Or was that Gary's decision?
I think we did float a few names around, and I think Wolves just stuck really nice. I know the first logo sort of I'd ripped off the Wolverhampton Wolves football logo and just stuck an A in the middle because we were Arnold at the time. And then Gary tidied it up to sort of the badge that we have on the last lot of shirts, on the sleeves.
Yeah. Was there, other than, like, in terms of sports teams, there are only Wolverhampton Wanderers that sort of stand out as a Wolf. So it's not like copying an NHL team. Was there a certain bit of inspiration with that, or did it just come to mind?
No, it was just we were batting around names, and obviously a lot of the really good names had already been used, because
Like
probably
Aztecs, that had gone.
Spear.
Scorpions.
there'd probably been 30 gym hockey teams by the time that we started the Wolves. So a lot of the good names had sort of gone, but I think as soon as, I don't know whether I suggested it or Gary, but as soon as sort of it was suggested, it stuck.
Yeah. And obviously, Rob, we've been able to branch off with all of the individual team names and stuff within the club.
Versatile, isn't it?
Pretty versatile, yeah.
I think we've just about milked it dry. Two teams I can't believe we've not mentioned so far, who are two really good teams. Eastwood Royals.
Yeah.
They were really strong, and Clifton Oilers.
Yeah, they were. When I started, they were, well, because Eastwood came across from your league, didn't they? When pretty much when you guys did, and
Bruins, Eastwood, and
Edlin
Flyers came over at the same time.
And they had, I mean, obviously, you had Phil and Kev, who ended up playing for Scorps with me, and then and obviously had Matt Trickett played for them, and a few guys played for them, and they were a really good side, weren't they, man? So I mean, that stage when we played them. And then Clifton Oilers were probably at their heyday when Mance was playing, probably a couple of years before me, I guess, with the Dring brothers and stuff. So
I think the Oilers were the first team that had sort of got a backbone of players that had played ice. So sort of a few of them had played for Ashfield.
So you got that house league, didn't they, at the old Ashfield rink, didn't they? I think they used to play in that.
Yeah, so tactically they were probably a year or two in front of everyone.
Yeah.
But they've got some class players. As has been mentioned, Steve Dring was probably one of the first defencemen that sort of played attacking-minded hockey at the time, when most of the defenders were playing like five-a-side football defenders, but Steve was like joining in the play, and you see it routinely now, but at the time it's so different.